My name is Mystqx. I'm originally from the Philippines, but I moved quite a lot around the globe. And now I found my second home in Zurich, in Switzerland. So I've been living here now for 10 years. I do speak their language, which is German, but I don't write in German, just
Gotcha.
in English. Yeah. It's a pretty difficult language, I would say.
So you were born in the Philippines, you traveled all over the world. What was it about Switzerland that made you decide to stay there for 10 years?
Love.
Love.
Well,
That
that's the
that
real.
tends to do it.
Yeah. That's that moves mountains. That moves mountains really. I decided to live here because of him. I got married to a Swiss guy, and yeah, we decided that this is like the best place to raise our kids. So I moved.
No,
Yeah.
As a mother to an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, do you have any tips on how to find time to write?
I resigned from my day job. Well, it's in Switzerland. It's really so expensive to pay daycares. The dollar and the Swiss francs is about, I would say, 1 to 1.
mhm.
And if you kind of imagine to pay a daycare here costs 120 Swiss francs. That's like $115 per day.
Gotcha. Yeah, that adds
So
up pretty quickly. That's a full-time job in
ye-
itself.
exactly. So if you have two, it's not really worth it to, unless you're, you know, really earning that big, but then it's not practical anymore. So I stopped, and then now that my kids are going to kindergarten and school, yeah, I get about 4 hours every day.
That's terrific. Speaking of kids, as a kid, what got you into writing? Was there anybody in your family, or how did that start?
I think the motivation started when my mom really handed me out lots of this poetry pages. And then she read a lot to me. And then I kind of get into it. Like the feeling of reading poetry is quite different if you're reading a book.
Hmm.
And then when I was in high school, lots of my friends asked me to write love letters,
Hmm.
which I did. So it kind of started really with the romance kind of thing. So I started writing love letters for them, answering their love letters back. I mean, during my time, we don't have phones and stuff like that. So it's all paper and pen.
Nice.
Yeah, and then it got a little bit, I don't know, it jumped up a little bit a notch when I started faking some parent teachers letters. If you're absent, you need an excuse or so. So after that, I was really, really into paper and pen writing.
That's awesome. I wish I would have went to school with you. So what can you tell me about your writing process and your poetry?
I usually start off with poetry every day, like a few verses. And then after a while, I go to my short stories. So I have like a collection of plots that I work on every day. Usually I write in verses of 4 or 5, and then it's about 3 in a row or 4 in a row. Most of the time, I mean, my everyday routine, I just really write 2, 3 sentences, like a haiku type, just to, get you in the mood.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there any tools or any things that you always keep with you to help write down an idea when it comes?
Yeah, I have two things that I always have in my bag, and that's a paper and a pen
Mhm.
and a recorder.
Gotcha.
Because I just really record like every day. If something hits you, you just press the recorder, say something, and then at the end of the day, I put it in paper and pen. And then when I'm ready, I just put it in the computer. And even though I'm using a Mac, I have Word in my Mac. I think it's a
Mhm.
pretty stable software that I use. I mean, I've tried Scrivener as well, but since I'm not a very technical person, it takes time, to get into it. So there's like a learning curve.
Right.
That's the writing software that I use.
So after you get your ideas down and you're ready to put them out there, are there any online platforms that you like or any online publishing tools that you prefer?
I started with Goodreads, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's quite good. The community with Goodreads, they're very, really helpful. I think it's like 50% authors there, so they kind of like really know when they give a review how to do it and stuff like that. So that's one that
Mm-hmm.
aside from the usual that I'm concentrating on. And then a very good friend of mine, which is an SEO expert, told me to try out podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because this is my first like video interview really, and podcast is more like audio. So she told
Right.
me that I could try that out. By the way, I check yours, which I really found cool.
Thank you.
So that's the second thing that I'm gonna try.
Thanks so much for checking out the podcast. It's just getting started, and I can't wait to hear your episode where things are so much more digitally mastered and it just sounds a lot better, really helping people deliver their stories. And talking about delivering stories, what do you think about audiobooks?
Having lived here for quite some time, I realized that the audiobooks here just started like 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
And surprisingly, it's not really just for the millennials. I mean, my parent-in-law, for example, she's what? She's 72 and she can operate it herself. She
Right.
learned it and she says that most of her colleague, her age group started using podcasts and audiobooks as well because they feel like it's like during their time, it's like the radio kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
where they listen to the radio while they do their chores.
Right.
So it's like really the hype for audiobooks and podcasts here are really going high. So that's what I'm targeting by half of this year, July. I'm looking for someone to do audio for my book.
That's a terrific goal. I hope that you get there. In planning an audiobook, is there anything that you take into account, whether you do it, you have somebody else do it, male, female, that type of thing?
Okay, I've asked some people in a poll
Mm-hmm.
what they wanted to hear from an audiobook, a woman's voice or a man's voice. I mean, I didn't really specify what. I just said I have a poetry book. I wanted to do audio, and out of I think 800 replied.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that 800, about 375, 385 said that they prefer men. Man,
Interesting.
a man saying that they prefer men, a woman saying they prefer men. The other said they don't know, they don't have any preference, and the other says they prefer woman. But I think the book that I wrote, it would be best if a man would read it
Gotcha.
because it's more about how a man thinks of the woman or something like that. I mean, it's not the whole, but most most intimate articles are about a man and a man telling something about his love for a woman.
Let's move into the marketing angle. Once you've got your book finished, it's out now. What are you doing to promote it? Are there any strategies that you recommend? Tell us about that.
It's a bit uncommon how I did it. I know that there are lots of marketing channels. I've been in the marketing and advertising industry my whole career life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a lot of research before I actually started marketing my own book. And then I thought to do it with Amazon first, Amazon Select.
Uh-huh.
So it's just there really for the next 3 months. I just really wanted to try really how it is so I could say something about it. I mean, I have my whole life to promote it anyway, so I said
True.
90 days wouldn't hurt
I,
to just put it there and see how it goes so I can say something valuable to the people afterwards. So it's there, and then sales is not really that picked up. I have a few, I think 2 or 3, which bought it already. And then next week I'm gonna start with the promotion, like the free books, because when you enroll in Kindle Select, they give you like a week to offer it for free. So
right.
I'm gonna do that next week.
On the same note of promotion, I like to end every interview by saying thank you to you. Thank you to everybody that tuned in to the original taping of the Instagram Live. And also end the interview with what I like to call the digital soapbox, where you get this last little bit to talk about whatever you want. Leave everybody with a quote, tell them where to find you, talk about your book, whatever it is you want to do. So, without further ado, go ahead.
would like to introduce my book. It's called Dare. That's the title. That's me, by the way,
Nice.
20 years ago. Not tattooed. The tattoo, I just photoshopped it.
No
But
way.
that
That's
was
not
me
fake.
like 20 years ago, yeah. My friends and I were just playing with the camera. What I wanted to show with the book is that it has like mandalas in it, like that,
Nice.
that you can color. Mandala, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's a very therapeutic way, which the monks use to like relax their mind. So they're like mandala pages that you can color. And also, because I love writing on books, making notes and stuff like that, I also made like pages where you can write in the book.
Nice.
Put your notes in it. Do you agree? Do you hate what I write? Definitely not reading this book again, whatever you want to write. And then, because I traveled quite a lot, I put lots of places where I traveled before and what I wrote on those travels. Like, I want to show that is Ireland, that pretty little cliff over there,
Nice. Beautiful.
where you can really basically stand on the cliff, feel the air, and the salty water splashing on your face. Sit there and write. So yeah, and so the book is really quite unique. It has lots of intriguing visuals and lots of cool pictures also from places which is not touristy, which I found really on my own when I was traveling. I'm like a solo traveler before I met my husband. So I always ask the locals for what they know, not what really is with the book, to travel books. So it's like all here.
And that concludes today's episode. Thank you to everybody that watched. Thank you to Mystqx for your time and telling us all about your great book. Everybody go check it out on Amazon. But before you do that, don't forget to subscribe, like, and tell everybody about this podcast, because it is going to be the best one in the world in no time soon, and you could be on the front edge. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you next episode.